5 scary things about living in Greenville, North Carolina.
But first, let's hit it. Hi, it's Alan Victoria. Welcome to our channel and podcast.
And if this is your first time in our podcast and YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe and get notified.
Honestly, you call text all the time at 252-327-3357. We love talking to you. Do not be shy. Also, don't forget our buyer's guide and seller's guide in the description below because there's tons of information there for you to unpack.
Exactly, and today we wanted to address basically many of the fears that you have from out of state coming to North Carolina, specifically in our local place, town, Greenville, North Carolina, and we wanted to break it down and hope
more than that. People always have all these scary things about why they're not going to buy a home. And even if they live here, they have these same scary things on what's going on. And so we're going to talk about them, break them, unpack them. Now, understand, we look at this as people who have lived in other places. So we do look at it as a little bit of we live here, we love it here. We're happy to talk about every place around here, all the subdivisions. But we also come from other places as well, like Miami, where we met. Boston, Denver, Pittsburgh. We've lived in a lot of places, so we can tell you when we look at macro as well, we look at it a little bit with bigger eyes, I think.
Exactly. And the first item that many of you heard is hurricane.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's the number one thing I get here. Oh, but what about the hurricanes? That's the first question. Of course, as a Floridian, I should say that you should make sure that you're prepared for hurricanes. You should make sure you have your supplies at home. Make sure you make your stocks, make sure you have your food, plan a hurricane party. I'm coming if you're inviting me over, but then I'm staying the whole time because we don't go driving in hurricanes, we don't go outside during hurricanes, we stay home during the hurricane. And of course you have to have evacuation plans, but pretty much your goal with hurricanes is stay home. Don't go anywhere. Now, with all of that safety being said, how often do we get hurricanes here? No, I mean we're gonna get one on Wednesday, right? So that's the filming of this video. Exactly. However, it's gonna be a tropical storm by the time it gets to us because it's going through Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and then swinging back over to the coast of North Carolina.
And so, in Greenville, we are like at 80 miles from the coastal line.
I know if it was coming the other way, even if it was going to hit us, the only possible way we would somehow get it super important is if somehow that hurricane hits in the perfect spot of going up the river, and the river has to have enough water in order to keep fueling it for it to actually hit us and into a very significant damage. Can it happen? Of course. I'm not a weatherman. However, that's an extreme situation. Most hurricanes are going to hit somewhere, and they're going to hit and go through some land before it gets to us. So can we get hurricanes? Yes. Are we coastal to where we will have no path towards it? Come on now. There's 80 miles to the nearest coast, and there's a lot of houses in between here and there. So typically, the more that goes over the land, the less likely the hurricane is going to hit you as a 5. And I've been through Andrew as a 5 in Florida, so I understand.
Number 2 is scary things. Tornado! Which comes to our bringing when we were driving, no?
Yeah, when we drove through Kansas. I'll give you a funny story.
Oh
we were driving from Miami to Denver, and we were like, oh, we're going to drive through Kansas. It's going to be super fun. I was like, drove into there, we're like, oh, we're going to go find Superman's home. It's a joke, right? My kid's in the back seat. Oh, we're going to find Superman's home. It's a joke. Halfway through, on the tornado alley, literally on the highway, our phones are beeping, like, seek shelter now. There's nothing. There's farmland all around us. We're like, what do we do? There's no shelter. So we decided, we were very smart about it. We continued driving towards the tornado that was coming right at us. Got off at the exit and went underneath the exit, but because that was the only thing to do.
And when we came out, we saw all of this huge truck that all flipped. No.
And those cars that stayed on the highway were also kind of in a lot of situations. People had a lot of problems. So we made the right choice. However, in Greenville, North Carolina, I am not in Tornado Alley. I am not in straight path. Can tornadoes happen? Sure, they can happen almost everywhere. Am I in a place to where they happen all the time? No. In fact, I heard about one that happened 45 miles from here. It's a natural phenomenon, but it doesn't happen all the time. And it doesn't happen to where I have to freak out every single time. Oh, storms are coming. Seek tornado shelter. This isn't Kansas. This is Greenville, North Carolina. There's really not a lot. I've never seen it. It can happen, but it doesn't happen.
The next one is scary item flash flood.
Oh my God!
That
right,
we
the
get
flooding.
many times actually on our phone in the weather forecast.
Right,
that
but
we have the flash flood.
Here's the thing about the flooding.
Yeah.
We don't ever have flooding. I know, crazy thoughts, but we bought a house in a no flood zone. Most of our houses in Greenville are going to be in a no flood zone. If you are in a flood zone, we're going to look it up and we have to tell you if it's in a flood zone. And even still, of course, with this rain, what are we going to do? The city has things called canals. They have sewer systems. They are managing. So when the water comes, I can tell you there's a part in my backyard to where it's not really my backyard. It's like the communal backyard where they're going to have a lake. So my temporary lake, my lake view is going to go away once the city starts controlling the water. And it never affects my property in any way. I'm not worried about it, but they do design it to where, like I said, flash flood means I'm going to have a lake back there, but it's controlled by the city and it's completely controlled.
Exactly.
So we're expecting water and we plan for water and the entire city is planning for this water. So I wouldn't worry about it as long as you're buying a no flood zone, which is most of our homes.
The next item is embracing no bars culture in Greenville, North Carolina. That's my wife is going to elaborate a little bit more about this scary item.
Okay, so I was born in Boston. I lived in Miami, right? So these are places to where alcohol was just everywhere. There's what I understood was a bar. Was you go into the bar and people are there just to drink. So they're sitting at the bar and they're drinking at the bar and they're having their beer, and it's a culture that I grew up in that I love. And so when I moved here, there's no bar culture here. This does not mean that there is no alcohol. Quite the opposite. If I go to any restaurant, I can order any beer or alcohol that I want.
And there are brewers too.
Right. There's breweries. No, but even still, they have to serve food.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're not just a place to where I go and drink. It's a place to where you have to have food offerings as well. It doesn't mean that we can't gather and just drink. It just means that you're gathering in a place where other people are going to be eating. So, I mean, that is a little family more friendly. It's not like it's a dry place. Nobody's telling you that you can't drink. It's just expecting you to eat some food when you drink.
Exactly. That could be addressed as a unique and maybe positive.
It could be healthy.
Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't be drinking
and
just alone. Or maybe I shouldn't.
The next one is basically liquor laws and state store shipping in shopping in Greenville, North Carolina.
Okay, so basically you can buy beer and wine at the grocery store. So don't freak out if you're looking for the less alcohol friendly stuff. I can go to Publix, I can go to any store I want, pretty much buy the wine and the beer. However, if you want the harder stuff, you want vodka, you want gin, you want any of the stuff.
Limoncello.
Whoa, he got all fancy on me, right? You want the more fancy things, you have to go to the state store in order to buy your liquor. Exactly. So it is a little weird for me. Again, Boston had those state stores, it's true, but Florida doesn't. I could buy anything I wanted anywhere I wanted. And not that I do want any of these things, but, you know, sometimes if you're like, hey, so having a party, let's have this whatever at the party, now it has to go to the state store, which means it's a little bit more expensive than what you'll be paying at a private place.
Exactly.
But you can still buy it.
Do you want anything?
I think those scary things are really not scary. I think that all of them are mitigated. I actually like hurricane parties when you get to stay home and just hang out with your family. It just means that I get to hang out with my family and we actually get to spend time together and we're not on the internet. So it's like, I kind of like them.
Okay.
So.
And I hope this discussion about 5 scary things about Greenville was useful for many of you that wanted to move in here in Greenville, North Carolina. Don't forget to call us at 252-327-3357. We are here if you're a buyer or seller to help you and support our channel and YouTube and podcast. And we love to helping you and see you in the next podcast and video.
Also, I want to quickly add that Greenville is super livable and I love it here. So I think you would too.